you cannot freeze transforms after you duplicate it. Okay? It has to have the translates and rotates all that can be zeroed back to the original shape's space. All right? Because what it's looking at to make this blend shape is it's actually looking at the differences on a per vertex level of like where this vertex is versus where it's going to go. Okay? So it needs to stay in the same spot. Otherwise, your head might just lift off like a rocket and go off somewhere else. Okay? So, I'm going to go ahead and click on here. I'm going to duplicate her head. And since this head was skinned previously, I'm actually going to go through and unlock so I can move it. And then you'll just move it off to here. Once I move it off to here, I will duplicate them so that you have heads that you can sculpt on. And that's basically what I did for each one of these. I just made a bunch of duplications. And each one of these came from the original. And you'll see that the translates change a little bit for each one of these. Okay? So, expressions that I was working with, for her specifically, is I was giving her a blink. So she needs to be able to open and close her eyes. I need to be able to reach a lot of these extreme expressions that were drawn on here by the original artist. So with the eyes, I changed the eye shapes a couple of times. I go ahead and give her like wide eyes, furrowed brow, angry eyes. And then like for these eyes right here, I want to be able to give her kind of like this sad eye, but then if we mix it with only one side, see how it kind of turns into like a confused face. So we can kind of put that in there as well. So we can kind of mix these up and get a lot of different types of expressions. So if you look at like each different body part, like section of the face, we can kind of break this down into what each individual sculpt has. And so if we look at each one of these, I'm not trying to go for a full expression on each face. I'm only doing a part of the expression. So here, I'm doing a blink. Here I have a smile, a frown. Here is a wide mouth, so I'm just taking the corners of the mouth and pulling them out. This one is a narrow mouth, just kind of pinching them in. This one is kind of a squint. This one is surprised eyes. And this one is kind of like happy eyes, like kind of the cheeks are kind of coming up a little bit. And I don't have anything for these. So you can see what I've gone through so far. Okay? So you guys see where I'm kind of going with this, what my workflow is looking like? Okay. So let's make a couple of these expressions. So let's do some angry eyes, since I don't have any of those yet. So I'm going to go and grab a new head. I'm going to go and rename it Angry Eyes. Feel free to make a Toy Story reference here. And I'm also going to go ahead and make sure I got Object X turned on for symmetry, because I want to be able to do this on both sides of the face. So I'm going to go ahead and have that turned on. I do like to also use soft select pretty well here. Since that allows me to kind of like just gently, treat this like clay and kind of bend it around. And so with the angry eyes, brows are not fully down, but they're kind of coming down and they're pretty even, maybe a little bit cup shaped, to where they're kind of pointing down. The center is a little bit further down than the corners. So I'm going to go ahead and work with that. Now, if you want something that's a little bit more artistic, you can absolutely go into ZBrush and sculpt these in ZBrush if you wanted to. So you could take like your head mesh or whatever, just duplicate that subtool a bunch of times, and then just go in and sculpt the expressions if you feel like that's what you would want to do, rather than going and doing this in Maya.
Would you have to retype on it with 3 by King?
No. I mean, because you should already have it retopoed
Right.
before you're rigging it.
Okay.
So you would take that one, take that into ZBrush, and then sculpt expressions in there, if you want to do that.
So you would just like make it high poly to get all fancy with it and then just bring it back?
You wouldn't even need to make it high poly.
No?
I mean, like, do I need this to be high poly?
No.
No. So it's the same idea. So with this, with the blend shapes, I'm just going to kind of bring down the geometry a bit so it doesn't stretch too bad. And also, like, if you kind of like feel your forehead or feel your face when you're doing these expressions, you'll feel like where the skin kind of stretches and folds, and that's what you're going to be kind of like emulating. Is that kind of movement. And then also, so if I kind of do like that frowny face, I kind of feel like my nose kind of lifts a little bit, like right here. So I can kind of maybe pull that up a little bit too. I'm kind of looking around here to see if there's any major change in the eye shape here. Maybe not, but I think honestly I could see like the bottom of the eyes kind of coming up just a little bit. A little bit of like a squint. Like that. It almost is kind of like an inverse of like this shape. It's a similar shape, but it's just kind of flipped over. And the nice thing is, like, after you apply these, you can go back and edit them to make them like fit the shape a little bit better if you need to. That's a nice little option. So I can do that. She kind of looks like an alien here. Okay. This one right here is the surprised eyes, which I was kind of going with like a little bit like this and this. This is like a big expression change. So I think I might need to go a little bit further with it. It'll be a bit more obvious though, like once she gets like actual eyebrows put on her. Because right now it's kind of hard to see like some of the eye shape. I don't really want to go that far because I don't want to like break out the eyes, but I kind of want to get that shape in there.
Okay, so here's how, here's the way to do it. Don't have to do this in the manner where everything's going on how to stay on. So, it has options.
Something kind of like that. Okay.